Okay, good evening, everyone. So tonight we are going to be talking about the brain and our nervous system. Specifically, though, you're going to find that as I'm talking here, I'm going to say brain more often than I do nervous system. But as we all know, there is a direct connection between how we function and our nerves and everything and our brain. So 9 times out of 10, when you are talking about oils and supplements that can support the brain, they also directly support the nervous system. So just keep that in mind as we go along. It's an interesting topic to have because we're all aging, first of all, and we all notice that over time we're more sluggish in our thinking or just anything like that. But for some people, things happen in life that directly impact their brain, whether it be simply someone born with genetic issues or something traumatic happens in their life, whether emotionally or physical trauma, or maybe both. But also, the brain is directly impacted by our environment, by the things we're breathing in, by the things we're taking into our body, by the synthetics. We are overloaded in this world today with synthetics and toxins and harsh chemicals, whether it be in the products we use on our body or even food anymore. Look at all the news we hear anymore about the Roundup. For years we kept hearing about it in cereal and things. So you can see how when those things happen, we may not notice it immediately just because we ate that cereal every day. But over time, our body cannot handle all of these things at once, okay? And so then we feel the effects of it. And sometimes it's unchangeable. But sometimes there are things that we can do to help support our body to try to counteract some of that. So that's really sort of what we're going to talk about tonight. With regard to essential oils, I'm going to share my screen because we're really going to use this screen some tonight. Let me enlarge that. Can everyone see that nice and big? Okay, good. So essential oils can really be broke down into 3 different terpenes. Essential oils contain a constituent called terpenes, and there are 3 different kinds, and they are listed here on your screen. The 2 we're specifically going to talk a little bit about, and I'm going to try to keep it simple so that even I understand, okay? Because it can go over our heads a little bit. But we're going to talk about sesquiterpenes and monoterpenes. And again, these are found within essential oils. And eventually, after we talk about these for just a few minutes, we're going to talk about some essential oils specifically that when you think of those sesquiterpenes and monoterpenes, oftentimes these are the first ones that come to your mind. Okay, I want to go to the next screen. I got to find the arrow. There we go. So there we go. Terpenes, the most common and main organic compound in essential oils are these terpenes. Okay, so let's think about monoterpenes. Monoterpenes, if a cell is damaged with DNA, whether it be from the environment or trauma, those things we mentioned, what happens is it can twist the cells in the DNA to where the cells keep multiplying like our cells do constantly, but they're miswritten. Instead of being correct because of the environment or the injury or whatever, genetically, the cells begin to rewrite themselves and do things that they shouldn't with miswritten information, okay? Sesquiterpenes, on the other hand, is often used to erase that information. So monoterpenes help mend a cell after it's become damaged and twisted. Sesquiterpenes then say, okay, the monoterpene is stepping in. We got to get rid of this so my future cells don't use that information again, okay? So that's the basic difference. But don't worry, I know that still sounds confusing, but let's look a little bit closer at that. Sesquiterpenes, they're the ones that stop the growth of that miswritten cell. In other words, they want to kick that cell out because it is saying twisted things and it is affecting you and your brain and your body. Okay. Here's a little more information about sesquiterpenes. Um, Sesquiterpenes are very, very important for all of us in our body because they help increase the oxygen to our cells in the brain everywhere, okay? But specifically the brain. We cannot function properly if our brain isn't functioning properly. So as it says there, you'll see if you're reading it, when the cells are inhaled, oxygen is then increased, okay, in certain glands. And then this sends signals for more endorphins and it cleanses our neurotransmitters and increases our antibodies. In other words, sesquiterpenes help your body have a defense, okay? It keeps those neurotransmitters clean so that it's shooting information correctly from one cell to another. It's not getting miswritten, and it increases antibodies. We need those natural antibodies in our body to help fight anything that wants to come in contact with it that shouldn't be there with those cells, okay? So keep that in mind. And then it mentions there some of the essential oils high in sesquiterpenes are cedarwood, sandalwood, and vetiver. And we're going to talk about a few of those in a minute. Okay, so if sesquiterpenes get rid of the bad information, monoterpenes restore the good information, okay? The original DNA that we're all created with and born with, okay? And that's very, very important. You don't want to just get rid of the bad because then we would be left almost blank, right? If it didn't restore how we were meant to function. And that's where monoterpenes come in. And you'll notice here, this breaks it down. Maybe it helps explain it a little better for you. It says monoterpenes offer many healing properties, but probably the most important is its ability to reprogram your cells with the correct information that we should have to function. Okay, we all want to be in a state of homeostasis. That's where your body is just working perfectly together. Well, first of all, we're not perfect. And second of all, because of all the things we've mentioned, our bodies is in a constant struggle or fight. And so that's where those monoterpenes are so important that we be in contact with and using in our essential oils and so on to help get rid of that and get rid of the bad with the sesquiterpene oils and reprogram with the monoterpene so that things are running correctly. So sesquiterpenes deprogram the misinformation, monoterpenes reprogram with the correct information. Because if not, as it says there, if everything is all twisted and the cells are confused and doing what they shouldn't do, well, that's where things start happening. And that's where we end up having to see doctors and try to figure out what's going on, or we start self-diagnosing ourselves, like, what is this? And so then it lists a few oils there that you will see that are high, as you can see there by the numbers, in monoterpenes, frankincense being one of them, and some of your tree oils, your citrus oils. We're going to talk a little bit about frankincense here in just a few minutes. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Sesquiterpenes deprogram and get rid of the bad. Monoterpenes get it back to where it should be. They reprogram with the good information. So one of the oils that we just talked about a minute ago with sesquiterpenes is cedarwood. It's the highest in sesquiterpenes. I mean, look at that. It's 98%. And remember, sesquiterpenes deprogram the wrong. Get out of it. They get it out of the cells. And keep in mind also that sesquiterpenes bring oxygen to the cells. If we are not getting good oxygen to our cells, there are going to be problems. Not only is the information maybe hadn't been written correctly because of things, but we have to have oxygen to function, not just to breathe, but just for our body inside to function. That's why when you go to the hospital, they don't just check your blood pressure and your pulse and things like that, right? They put that little thing on and they keep an eye on your oxygen levels. It's very, very important. It's interesting there that in this graphic, it also even mentions how important it is for sleep. And it is true. Cedarwood is one of them I keep beside our bed. I don't use it every night, but I do reach for cedarwood quite often and put in our diffuser at night just to help with sleep. And again, remember, sesquiterpenes get rid of the bad. Well, even though we are talking about the misprogramming in your cells, even like I said earlier, emotional trauma, which would involve memories, can be hidden almost in our cells. Our bodies are so fascinating that they block things out. I'll use me as an example. So, having been ran over by a lawnmower when I was 3.5, I don't remember the accident. I don't remember it. I can remember afterwards 2 things: at the hospital and on the way to the hospital. And I don't remember the whole thing. I just remember 2 specific things. But the doctors told my parents, said, that's her body. That's her brain stopping that memory because it would be too traumatic to deal with. So isn't that fascinating? Your brain and those cells automatically go into a defense mode at times. But there are some times when something traumatic happens to a person and they need to get rid of those memories. They need to get rid of them because it's affecting their daily life, their ability to function, and so on. And that's where oils like cedarwood and the sesquiterpenes within cedarwood can help naturally support your body to release these things that you need to get out of there so that you can function better. Okay, so that is cedarwood. Here's another graphic about it. It says it works to release the past. It says it can help with releasing painful memories and emotions. Even those who need support because they're dealing with addictions, then they may find that cedarwood could be a benefit to them to help them through at that time. And then look at the bottom. Cedarwood works deep inside the limbic region of the brain where your emotions are recorded to really let those things go. Again, sesquiterpenes deprogram wrong information. And even though this graphic is speaking a little bit more of emotional things, it's more than just emotions. That is the most common, but for many people who are dealing with traumatic injuries or things like that within the brain, those cells need to be reprogrammed. It's not just emotionally, okay? And that's where cedarwood may prove very beneficial to people who are dealing with any condition that is connected specifically with the brain or the nervous system. Okay, hope that makes sense. Oops, I'm going to stop sharing that a minute. So that is the cedarwood. The frankincense that I want to mention, this one is directly, I'm going to put this on gallery so I can see everybody. Frankincense contains both sesquiterpenes and monoterpenes. But frankincense is very good for the brain, whereas cedarwood is great with the sesquiterpenes about deprogramming and help getting rid of the bad programming in your cells. Frankincense loves your cells. It's your cell's best friend. Okay. On that graphic we used, it actually said grapefruit was higher. Now, it's interesting to me, though, in the research, because I've spent a lot, I had read a lot of this before, but to try to make it a little easier to understand, I've spent the last 2 days trying to research a little more. And I have to tell you, even though I did see that citrus oils obviously contain these monoterpenes, frankincense comes up more than anything else when we're talking about restoring your cells, okay, and having the correct DNA program going on in those cells. Frankincense is your friend. What's interesting is, and I should have brought this up for cedarwood, but let's start with frankincense. Frankincense comes in the red bottle. So that means I can tell you, you can put it in a diffuser, or the perfect place to apply this when we're talking about the brain and reprogramming it with the right DNA is on your brain stem, a drop or two even in your hair, massage throughout your head. Could you put it anywhere? Yes. But logically, most of us, if we're talking about the brain, we're going to put it closer to the brain as we can, right? So in your scalp, but specifically the brainstem is where I would go. Keep in mind, I should have mentioned this at the very beginning, just as a reminder to everyone. I'm not a doctor. I'm not in the medical field whatsoever. So I'm not diagnosing or telling you forms of treatment. I'm simply sharing with you if I was dealing with a brain injury and with the research I've done, frankincense is the oil I would reach for, and I would apply it specifically on my brainstem and even throughout my scalp if I was trying to reprogram my cells. Okay. The other way I would consider taking frankincense, and I didn't bring it over here with me, is frankincense also comes in the white bottle called frankincense vitality. Now, for those of you that are new, it's the same oil in either bottle. The only reason it's labeled different is because if I'm holding this bottle, the FDA says, Kim, you can't talk about taking it internally. So then, I don't have a white bottle here, then I would have to hold up the frankincense vitality, which is the exact same oil, and say to you, you can take this internally also to support your brain. Okay. Frankincense is very good for your cells, very good. So you can take in a capsule 2 or 3 drops of frankincense with a little bit of a carrier oil like olive oil, avocado oil, any fatty oil. Okay. Or you could put it in a shot glass. My husband takes it in a shot glass with water in the morning, a couple of drops of frankincense, and he also likes to use lemon vitality, frankincense vitality, lemon vitality, to support his brain, to support a lot of things, to support inflammation levels in his body, to support his liver. Very good for you. Okay, so keep that in mind with regard to frankincense. If you are trying to reprogram your cells because you know, probably because of a diagnosis from a doctor, that you are dealing with any type of condition that you don't want to be dealing with for whatever reason, whether it be memory, cognitive issues, whatever, then frankincense is very good to help reprogram the cells. Okay. Back to the cedarwood. Cedarwood just comes in this bottle. Now, does that mean then, Kim, that I can't take this internally? Well, it means I can't tell you to take it internally because I don't have it here in a white bottle. But that's where I have on my phone, and I have a book here in front of me, but it's underneath my computer. That's where an old reference book is very important. Because you know what? Young Living makes over 300 oils that you can get on the website. But every oil that the FDA says is generally regarded as safe. You'll see those initials with regard to essential oils, especially if you're online looking. GRAS, GRAS, generally regarded as safe. And they're talking about safe for consumption to take internally. Then I suggest you look there. So if ever you have an oil in your hand and you're like, I like the benefits of this oil. This oil, I know I can use topically, but can I take it internally? Then grab your reference, whether it's your app on your phone, which is one of my favorites, how I started. It's like $7 for this app. It updates itself as new information comes out, and I can look really quickly to see, is this one regarded as safe to take internally? Okay, so I won't comment on that. I will tell you, look it up. And oftentimes, if you don't have that app for now, you could probably even find that. I'm sure you could even find that information online to answer that question. But again, cedarwood is what you think of when you want to get rid of bad cells, bad information going on in your body that's creating chaos in your health and in your life. cedarwood for the sesquiterpenes. Frankincense does have sesquiterpenes in it, but frankincense for the monoterpenes to reprogram your cells to the correct information that we were created with, the correct DNA, instead of being all jangled up. The other one that was mentioned was sandalwood. Sandalwood and frankincense, they're two different oils, but they're very, very similar in what they do. I mention it because you will see this a lot when you are talking about monoterpenes and the cells and the brain. But in all honesty, for most of us, this is the one we're going to reach for, is the frankincense. Frankincense itself can be pricey, but this is at least 3 times more than the price of frankincense. Okay. But I did want to mention it because you will see this a lot if you do any research on your own. It's a beautiful oil. I love this oil. But for most people, this is not an oil that you're going to want to take 3 or 4 drops of every day and have to buy this bottle very often, because it's going to cost you over $100 for sandalwood. Okay. Simply because they don't even bother the trees. I forget how old. I want to say it's over 100 years old before they even start getting oil from that tree. It's outrageous, is my point. It's a long time, and it's not like these trees are grown here or in Florida. Okay, so sandalwood is the other one, but frankincense is the one I highly recommend. So let's go back. So that's some of the oils. If you're thinking of your brain and things going wrong, whether it be in your nervous system, because oftentimes if things are going wrong in the nervous system, it's because of something misfiring in the brain, okay, cognitive wise or whatever in the cells, then you want to think about cedarwood and frankincense. If you remember nothing else, hopefully you will remember that. But besides essential oils directly, there are supplements that are very good for the brain. So let me share my screen again, and let's go back. This was the one I mentioned even last week, Super B. This contains all 8 essential B vitamins within it. And the reason I bring it up is because it's very good for the brain and your cognitive function. Oftentimes, if something's going wrong with us, whether physically or even emotionally, our thinking gets out of whack, right? We're in like a fog or whatever. And that's where Super B and the cognitive function comes in, okay? And keep in mind as well that these supplements, oftentimes also have essential oils in them because they help your body to absorb those better. And I forgot to look that up, so bear with me just a second. I wanted to look and see nutmeg. Okay, I just forgot what it was. Nutmeg is the essential oil that you find within Super B, just in case you want to know. But a lot of the B vitamins, when you get to researching some of them, specifically talk about how the fact that they're good for brain health or also nervous system. Okay, like your B5. It does support other things, but it does specifically mention that it supports your nervous system. B3 supports mental clarity, memory, brain health, increases brain function. So when you see things like that, you realize that it's a great support to your brain and to the cells in your brain and helping them do what they were meant to do instead of being in a fog. Another one, and once I click off here, we'll be able to see it from Donna. Donna's got the modern picture of what it looks like, but this was just a good graphic, so I wanted to pull it up. MindWise. MindWise is a very good one to support a healthy brain function. It lists some of the ingredients there that are within it, but that's where my supplement book comes in really handy, because a lot of the ingredients within MindWise, that's the whole point. They're specifically there to help support your mind, your brain, okay? And as I said, we all need that. It doesn't matter if we've had something traumatic happen. We all are aging, and aging alone affects us. You notice there too, the very last ingredient it mentions on that graphic is CoQ10. That's something that's in every cell in our body, and it's necessary even for the basic functioning of cells. So here we go again. We're talking about MindWise specifically for brain health in the brain, but that includes then that those cells coming from that brain need to be functioning correctly and not out of whack. Multigreens is another product. And again, this label is old, but I wanted to point this one out because this is what I mentioned just a minute ago. Look at what it says there. This is from Gary Young, the one who's known as the father of the modern essential oils, because of all the research he done and all of the effort he put into the medical field beginning to recognize that they needed to work together. The medical field and natural supplements need to work together. It's not one or the other, okay? I don't advocate that. Donna doesn't advocate that. They need to work together. There are benefits to both. So what's the benefit of having essential oils within our supplements? Well, you see there, without them, within 24 hours, only about 42% of a supplement actually gets absorbed into your body, like vitamin C, vitamin B, whatever the supplement is. But with essential oils, studies have shown that within 30 minutes, which is a lot less than 24 hours, 64% and 86% within 1 hour. So yes, can you get cheap vitamins? Mm-hmm. You sure can. But if you would get vitamins with the essential oils within them, you may pay a little more, but your benefit is much greater. I mean, I would rather take one Super B than how many of these Super Bs would I have to take to add up to what it says there in that graphic, right? So you have to weigh that when you're thinking about that and realize that's one of the reasons when they did the research, Purdue University here in Indiana is known for doing a lot of the research about essential oils and so on. Then you want a supplement that contains essential oils. You'll notice a difference quicker. Okay, the other one I want to mention is sulfurzyme. We talk about this one quite often, and oftentimes when we do, we're talking about our joints or our hair and our skin, and that's true. It does all those things. But sulfurzyme, which contains that sulfur, which we all desperately need, you notice there, number 3, protects, replenishes, and preserves the cells. Okay, again, it's key that MSM within sulfurzyme is absolutely necessary for the body to function correctly. And I think this is the last graphic, and it talks a little bit about that. Within sulfurzyme, the MSM is combined with wolfberry, and the reason for that is because it makes it, again, more bioavailable so that your body, they could have just given us MSM, but it doesn't want to absorb great in our body unless we add certain things with it, and wolfberry is one of them. And wolfberry, by the way, for any of you that are new, that is the super fruit that is found in Ningxia Red. That's what Ningxia Red is. That drink is purified wolfberries and then some other juices added. But if any of you've ever tried it or seen it in the bottle, you'll see all of that puree at the bottom of that juice. You shake it up before you drink it, and then you drink it. Why? Because it's a superfruit, so it's good to support your body to fight free radicals. It's high in antioxidants. But in this case, the wolfberry and sulfurzyme, again, you notice there it says to maintain the structure of proteins, protect your cells, your cell membranes, replenish those transmissions between the cells, and preserve the molecular framework of connective tissue. So it's a lot of information in a short period of time, but it gives you an idea. And believe me, guys, after 2 days of studying this, I just barely touched the surface of all the information that's out there about the brain, your nervous system, and cells. And their connection to what essential oils work. This just gives you some idea. Um, if anyone is dealing with things like that, then pick one and start. I would never say, oh yeah, get this and get the. No, 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 because you need to do one thing at a time so that you can use it for a couple of weeks. Actually, if you talk to most doctors, they're going to tell you use it for at least 30 days. It takes a while for our bodies to go through and do anything, right? Sometimes we're used to a quick fix, and supplements are not miracle workers. Every now and then, someone will take a supplement and within a few days notice a massive change, but that's not the norm. Okay. So if you decide that you're going to try a supplement, I would say 30 to 60 days. My goal is always, when I try a supplement, to do my best to follow the directions on what it says. Sometimes that means the bottle only lasts a month. Sometimes that means it's a 2-month supply. Try it for that time. Don't add 3 or 4 at once, because then you're left wondering, did I need all of them, or which one is actually making the difference? Okay. So keep that in mind. If you decide to try specifically a supplement, take one at a time, and see how you react, if you notice any difference, and give it time. Don't expect a miracle in just a few days. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording this so that we can talk openly and freely if you have any questions. If anyone is watching on Facebook or later they rewatch this on YouTube, if you have questions, just leave them below or message me and I will be glad to help you. If you want information on how to get any of these, then my link will also be included in the post so that you'll be able to find it.